Okay, welcome everybody to this webinar. I'm here, Mike DeVries, with Sharon Dykstra, one of the VMD Healthcare Team accountants. And today we're going to look at Accounting CS. It's a new system that many of you have been introduced to. After being on Checkbook Solution for many years, we know that there are it's very similar, but yet there are questions about the new program. Sharon's been talking to many of you, and based upon some of the questions we've received, we thought it'd be a good idea today to put a short webinar together where we demonstrate some of the tips and the tricks and best practices to using checkbooks software that you're using. So with that, Sharon, thanks for coming on board.
Sure.
And let's spend a little time. Why don't you go ahead and show your screen and let's get started.
All right. Okay, so first of all, this screen's gonna look a little different than what most of the clients see. There's a few extra things here, but it'll be so much similar that you won't really notice.
Sharon, just to note that what we're looking at right now is what we see, right?
Correct, right. There's a few extra things in there.
Right, but what the activity that we see is the same thing that the client is going to see as well. So we're sharing the information, which is a little different than what Checkbook Solution used to be.
Right, and it's been great because we can instantly help each other and see what we're looking at. So that works
good.
Nice.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so I guess, first of all, when you're going to just really enter activity, make sure you're always in this enter transactions screen here. And if things look a little funny, you need to always make sure that you're in the bank account mode here. This is like the checkbook that you're used to seeing. So you want to make sure you're on the bank account mode. The other thing that can get mixed up is make sure you're always sorted by date, which is this field right here.
So you just clicked on the date to sort it?
I clicked on this date field right here, which will sort it by date. Then you get your balance over here, just like you're used to seeing in the old checkbook.
All right. Now let's go back. Let's go back to transaction view. What would it look like if we were back on transaction view?
We are in the transaction view. That's
no, not
over here.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
the journal
this
mode
here. Yeah. Well, there's nothing in this one because it's a sample client.
Okay, so but you would see something like this, and then you just click on the other button.
Make sure you
next to it.
Yep. And it might look
bank account mode. Mm-hmm.
Right. It might look a little similar. It's got a lot of transactions, but it's not going to ever give you a balance, and it's only going to give you, the few transactions that are in the current month. It's not like a running checkbook, so it's really not what you want to see. So you're going to want to, be in this bank account mode here that I clicked.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, you want to make sure you click this little date field to sort that by date.
Okay.
The really neat thing about this that we didn't have before is any of these fields up here in this top gray bar you can sort by. So if you wanted to say, oh, I wrote a $400 check to somebody, you can't remember what or when, you can even click on this payment field like I just did. Now see, it's sorting all the payments in order.
Oh yeah.
Same thing with deposits. Say, oh, I know I had this deposit of, I don't know, $5,000. You could click on the deposit right here and it will sort all the deposits in order.
Mm-hmm.
Or I paid somebody named Albert Nelson, but I can't remember when. You can click on this description and it'll give them all in alphabetical order, and then you can find your Albert Nelson right there. So really neat to find things quickly that we didn't have before.
Can I search in that too or not?
Yes, you can right here in this little search field. Type in, a name, Albert or something along those lines. Just click enter, and then it's gonna. Oh, didn't have him there. I think I didn't have to have the capital letter correctly like he did. But you can search an amount. You can search a name. Anything you want to search in that field.
Okay.
So,
great.
Yeah. So we're gonna go back to put my date field back in order. So this is what we're used to. So we know that our current balance is right here. I think similar to Checkbook Solution, but the real key to making this work well is to set things up correctly. And right at the start, it'll make your entry quicker and easier as you go along. So over on the left-hand side, the clients might not be down quite this far, but there's the vendor field, which is then going to show you all the vendors that are set up. Most of our clients have many, many vendors, and I've had a few comment to me that, oh, there's so many here that we don't use anymore. We know what, there's too many to look through. This is a great time to kind of clean that up. You can just, if it's a vendor you know you will never use again, you can just click on the vendor, and then down here at the bottom, you just click delete, and it will be gone. I've had a few say, oh, I rarely use it, but I might use it again, and you'd hate to have to re-enter all the information. You can click down at the bottom, click this edit button, and over here, enter an inactive date. It's not letting me do that one, but right here, if I just, and then you put in an inactive date right here. Then this client, and I'll do this for Albert Nelson in a minute. You just do today, doesn't matter when. And then down at the bottom right, you click enter. Well, he is now, if you see, he's not listed anymore. So it's not in the way, I guess, if you're trying to find things. If you're
Sharon, just a minute.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to see that one again, notice that up in the top right-hand corner, it says include inactive. So if I click on that,
exactly.
then it's going to show me Albert Nelson. Yeah.
He looks, he's asterisk, so it's an active one.
Yeah.
So if you are writing, so if you write a check and you think, I wonder if I've used this vendor before, I don't have to re-enter it. You can always, click your include inactive and do a quick check here to see if they're there. And then you can edit and get rid of them in the active date, make them active again, and then use them. So you have two options to delete or just make them inactive.
That's nice. So keep the list that you have to look through a lot shorter.
You don't want to make right. And I found a lot of clients have had a lot they will never use again. You just add them and don't think of checking. So, and similar to the other transaction screen we were on, now this is a very few vendors. Most clients obviously will have a lot more, but you can sort these by the ID number. You can sort them by the name. Sometimes the ID number is completely different than the name, and you can't find them, let's say. Just sort by name, and then that's right there alphabetical for you. So it's really nice to have those set up correctly. When setting up a vendor, obviously, you click add here to set up a new vendor, an ID number that makes the most sense to you. Obviously, you want a social security number or employee identification number, especially if we're going to be issuing a 1099 to that person. Then this is similar to CBS, the vendor name and the address and things like that. Mostly just this top section right here that you'll need. Over on the distributions tab, this is where you're going to put what account number you want this to go to. So if that
would only be if it's a normal, like it's always clinical supplies, for instance.
Right. But you could also, if it's usually one of a couple, you can, these are unusual account numbers for us. So let's just say you want maintenance, or sometimes when you use this client, it's, I'll find something else. It's a purchase, so the options, you can put any option that you might use in this field.
Okay.
So then down here, this transaction memo field is what will print on the check. So you kind of
in the memo section.
So if it's, you always use account number, this particular client is always account number, 154, and you want that to print on the check so that this vendor will always know who's paying it. You could keep that on there and it will always print. Or you could always put, invoice number and leave it blank. And then when you write a check later, you can enter that particular invoice number. But this section right here will, always print there. So if it's, sometimes that's useful, sometimes not, but just to know that that's there.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, so, and a lot of that is really similar to actually very similar to Checkbook Solution, but I don't know how many people, took a lot of time to clean these things up in that. So that's just kind of a reminder, I guess.
Sure.
The other real important setup piece is up here in the setup, and then you go down to transaction templates. And many of these, there aren't any set up for this sample client, but for all of our clients, we already have many set up specifically like a deposit.
Yeah, like a deposit.
Right. And we have these set up. This is nothing new. You put what bank account. If you ever see this journal field, it'll often fill in, but it's always just general. There's really just one option. And I have all these set up for our clients, but you say, I want this to be a deposit. you know, for credit cards. And then you could say this is called credit cards. And you could go here and say it's always going to go to whatever account, you know, my receipts are going to go to. These are set up for almost all of our clients, and I will gladly set them up for anyone that wants. You know, we set up the ones that are in CBS, we set them up in here again.
Right.
One thing where I think this is not used enough to me is more in the, oops, I'm going to cancel that one. Is more in the payment section. A lot of, obviously in these days, a lot of payments on credit card, utility bills, lots of payments are not, we're not writing checks anymore. It's just coming out of the bank account as a debit. And instead of having to hand enter those every time, you create a payment and then you say checking accounts. And I'm going to call this, you know, American Express, let's say, or something. Let's say we pay that all the time.
Or it might be more like for doctor's life insurance or disability.
Could be anything like that.
Something like that, where the amounts are being
A
taken out of the bank
standard
account
amount,
on the first
not
of the
even a
month or
standard
something.
amount. You can, I'll show you in a minute. It can be a standard amount, or like we could put American Express here and we don't know the amount. You could just leave it blank. And then we want to call it American Express. So we're looking for it. And then you can leave these distributions blank and fill them in at the time, or you can enter whatever accounts you normally use, you know, some that are often used, but then it's just there. So every time you don't have to enter that information in.
One of the things I noticed here is that account where you went down there, go back to the account,
right
distributions,
Yep.
it's gray. And I think that's confusing sometimes because, you know, you think, oh, that's gray, so I can't get in there, but you actually can.
Yeah, it's not our favorite part of this, but yeah, it is. Always just tab down there if it's gray, because you might be able to get into it, but it is. It looks like you can't use it, but you can.
Yeah.
It's a little different gray than this gray. I think that's what they were thinking, but yeah, that's true. Like an instant example you mentioned, Mike, was on like doctor's life insurance.
Yes.
Kind of neat thing you can do for that one though. Something, let's just say, let's call it Doctor Life insurance. And it's always, you know, $200 a month, let's say. So you know what the amount is, you can put that in there. And then the real nice thing, if you notice this last thing, it's called what type. On demand just means, you know, if you want to use it in your checkbook, you can call this template up and use it whenever you want. There's no specific time frame. Or you can schedule one, which is kind of cool, because then you go back here and then you can say this is, if you hit the schedule here, then you want to go to the schedule tab and you can say every month on the first day of the month, I want this to come out.
Nice.
And this is a really underused piece that would really be helpful, especially people that are trying to monitor their cash carefully. You know, I do the bank reconciliation at the end of the month, and all of a sudden these charges all are taken out. It's like, whoa, I thought we had more money. If you have these all set up on a lot of your standard ones, you know, your cash is going to be much more accurate.
Yeah, that's great.
Those that record their credit card fees, you know, they can schedule that to come out with a zero balance here, and it'll come with a zero, and then you can go in there and, you know, because obviously your credit card fees change every month, but you can go in it'll put the transaction into your listing. It'll be zero. You can go and change the amount, but it's in there to remind you, you know, so you can always make sure you've got as accurate as possible.
Sure.
So, yeah, if anyone has questions, you know, obviously on the transactions that unique to them, that I'll gladly help them set them up, because to me, it's just a great way to make your life easier and keep your cash balance correct. So then I went back to this enter transactions screen right here where you do all your activity. And again, this is similar to what everyone's used to, but journal entry option, payroll check option, those options are not generally here. It'll be a check, a deposit, or a payment. Payment being the things we just talked about. It's a payment, but a check's not written. It's just coming out of the bank account. So anytime you have something like that, you want to put your payment here. And then if we had set up a template back there, like the Doctor Life Insurance, they'll all populate here. You can grab whichever one you want. So, and then the same thing with the deposit. And most people are familiar with that. A couple of things I wanted to point out when you're writing a check. This top line will, if you click check, will always fill in for you. You really don't have to worry about anything in this top line. Some people have asked me, what do I do for the posting period? What do I do for this? You don't need to worry about that. They'll fill in. You come down here, obviously, if you're going to write a handwritten check, there's a few people that do that. You'll click that and enter your information. But generally, we're printing checks, so we make sure that's not clicked. We enter the date we want. Grab the vendors that we had set up, which is why it's so nice to have vendors. Then it's all ready for you. I'm going to grab Daisy's umbrella here a minute. So then all the information pops up. If you see Daisy, well, if we put her address in, that would be there. The distributions that we put for Daisy are here. The options for account numbers we normally use. So then
now in the case of the options,
yes.
so Daisy has 402 and
500. Mm-hmm.
What if I just want to use one?
Yep.
Will the other one print, or do I have
Nope.
to balance that, or what has
Yep.
to happen?
Yeah, I'll show you what we'll do. Like, let's just say we're paying them $500. What happens is, if you just had one account number here, it will put $500 in this line. But because there's options, it's the system like waits for you to tell it, where you want it to go. So you need to make sure to do that, because otherwise it goes to this bottom line here with no account number, and it ends up like in a suspense account. So it really gets, at the end of the month, your reports are kind of mucky because everything's in a suspense account. So if you want, so you'd go to 402 and then you'd go down back here to the amount, and let's say you want it all to go there, you can put it like that. You could put 250 on each account, whatever the case may be. And you can always, add any accounts here that weren't in the standard template. You can add an account if it's something different that we haven't used before, and make sure all these, and the system will keep, balancing for you until this last line is 0. Then it says you've got it all accounted for. You've got your whole check accounted for. So that's how you do that one. And I just would reiterate to make sure you check these distributions on the bottom so that they do go to the correct spot. A couple other things. Let's say we want to know that it was Daisy's umbrella on this purchase, and we want to say, oh, we purchased the outdoor picnic umbrella or whatever it is. We want to note that. Really important thing, and we're having a lot of questions and trouble with that, is this description area right here is what carries forward to our general ledger in all the reports that we use on the financial statement side. So we really can't delete this Daisy umbrella. Otherwise, we won't know down the line. It'll say check number, whatever this check is, and we won't know who it was written to. This is the field that does that. So if we want to put anything, I always suggest that you put it behind here and you say, outdoor, sorry about that, outdoor, picnic or something, whatever it was. And we make sure we keep the Daisy and then type the information behind here.
So a good example of that would be like if they're paying their Visa, MasterCard.
Exactly.
And then they're going to put in that they, bought things at the restaurant or whatever restaurant. It would say MasterCard name, whatever it is. And then behind that, they'd put the restaurant name so they knew what that was. But they should never get rid of the MasterCard, which is different than what we used to tell them with checkbook solution.
It is different, and it's just how they set up this field. But this field has got to stay there, or we don't know. So it'll say, American Express, Chase card, MasterCard, whatever, right here. Right. And then behind there, you can say, Best Buy, or, the restaurant or something. But we really don't want to lose this, because then we lose our information going down the line.
Yeah. Okay.
But it is nice to put the description here, because like I said, this also is what carries into the general ledger. So you have who it was paid to and what was purchased. So it's a great place to have both. There's also, in the old checkbook, there was a little yellow note thing that if people wanted to just give notes to me or to us as we're looking at it, oh, I didn't know where to code this, or remember you were gonna, just little notes that kind of come to us. That now is over here in this notes tab. Again, it looks gray, like you can't enter it, but you can. And anything you type here will come through to us and let us know. It's not going to print anywhere else. It's just like a note for the accounting department.
For instance, I'm not sure that I coded this right. Please check.
Yeah, yeah. We bought this, such and such a thing. I'm not sure where to put it. That, and it takes place that little cute little yellow note we used to have in Checkbook Solution.
Nice.
Yes, that's, let's see. I think that's about all I had specifically for check writing. The printing of checks, I'm not going to go through it. It's exactly the same as CBS. Just click the print checks field. I'll save this checks. We have something to print. And then it will come up here. Click the little plus and it will show you all the checks you have to print. And you just click on the ones you want to print and you click print, which is exactly the same as Checkbook Solution.
What is the filter for?
This here?
Up above. See where it says filter right above that? Yeah, that little drop down. Yeah. Yeah,
you can filter on. I mean, if you have a lot of checks, you want to just print Daisy. I think it's similar. Yeah, it's not anything. If you only have one client, I don't think you would use a filter on that situation there because it's
one payment. You mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you want. No, I mean even just those. I mean, all it's going to do is list your checks right here, unless you have 40 checks that you can't see them all, but they're all going to be sitting right here for you to see. I don't think the filter would be used a lot, but you can filter. This is really more for the accounting department. I think if they want to filter on a particular client, things like that. But all the checks you have here, you just highlight the ones you want to check, click down on the bottom right, print selected, exactly like CBS, and it will just ask you, are you ready to print? And then you print them. You'll get the question, did they print correctly, yes or no? Make sure you wait till they print before you click that, and it's exactly the same. So
yeah.
I'm going to go back into enter transactions a minute over here. One question we'll be getting is if you're finding a check from a few months back or something that you wanted to void. The verbiage that we use, let's just say this Oscar Oliver check from February of 2015 was never, we're going to reissue it, or was never cleared for some reason, some mistake. Down at the bottom, you see delete and void are grayed out. We like to do a reverse on these because then it really creates a reverse transaction and is real clear to us here that it's being reversed. You just click on that. It will ask you the date to do it. You could just enter today's date, and when you enter today's date, it would automatically put it in today's posting period. Really do suggest you use today's date no matter when the check was printed. Makes a great trail so we know when this was done. You can see, oh, on August 15 we reversed this check, and then you just click OK. Whoops, sorry. There we go.
And does it not show up anywhere then, or
what's that?
Oh, it does. Does it show up?
I was actually on the mobile oil check. Here's the original check on February 12. If you look down here on October 15, it gives you the check number and it shows you that there was a reversal.
I see.
This check, which is a really good trail as opposed to just like deleting it or
avoiding it.
Yeah, it shows you exactly what happened and when. So
I like that.
It works really nice. So, but that's why I said it's kind of nice or very important to use the date you're doing it, the exact date, so you know when it was done. Other than that, a couple other questions I've had over here on the side is the chart of accounts. You just want to take a quick peek, what are you using? Here it is. I was just thinking, Mike, as I dragged that, that's another thing you couldn't do in CBS. In any of these fields, in any of these screens, you can change these, make these fields smaller, bigger, whatever your view is.
You can do that as well as go to enter transactions.
Yeah, that's a great spot to show that.
Because a lot of people will say, I don't have enough room to do that, or I can't see this.
This is bigger than most people like. Your payments aren't that big. If you want to make it look a little friendlier, like the old checkbook, you can make these all a little smaller.
Right.
If you like to see more transactions, you can bring this down a little bit, which makes this a little smushy, but Or if you like that to be larger, you can bring it way up. It's kind of nice. You can kind of conform it to how you like it.
Yeah.
This date doesn't need to be that big.
Go write a check a minute or down below in the account.
Here, yep.
Like yeah. So now you're going to put it in the account number?
Well, you want me to grab a vendor that's already set up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll grab Daisy again. Then I will say we're going to do $200. And I'll have to make sure I distribute my
$200. Right.
Down at the bottom.
Now go down to the account and click on that. Down.
Here? Or down here?
No, click on the account.
Yep.
Drop down.
Yep.
You can drag that window, make it bigger as well.
Yes.
Grab the corner.
Oh, there we go. Yep. Oh, yeah.
And that makes it nice and big too, because that drives me nuts looking at just a little tiny window.
And I hate having the account number that big, because then whoops, sorry. I make my account number smaller, otherwise yours look so far, but same thing. Yeah. You can see a lot more this way.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of people don't necessarily know that option's available.
And the other neat thing, Mike, that we didn't have before, if you saw what I just did, I just clicked the description field. So if you don't know what your account number is, but you're like, oh, I need bad debt.
Right.
It picked it for me. Right. You can just click this description field, and now it will alphabetize your descriptions for you. I need office supplies. I don't know what account number it is. You can, sort it like this, which is really nice. Nice too, so you can see it like that. So
that is
so that's it. And the only other thing, I'm not going to save this. If you move transactions, I think it's going to ask you want to save it, but we won't save that one. The only other question that I've had a few times is some people want to actually look at what have I spent on my office supplies for the year. There's a couple reports available. There's going to be a lot more listed here than what the client is going to see, but the report tab under accounting, a really useful one is this general ledger report. And if you click on that, it will come into here. It's your selected report, and then you can do a little bit of customizing. It will always say current period unless you want something different. Often, like you might want a year to date. See what I spent the year to date. You can actually make your own custom range if you want to look for a couple of years. You click range, put whatever date you want into beginning and the other and the end.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other thing you probably want to filter on is then if you want, you can filter this. So you filter by like my account number. You say my account number is freight. What have I paid in freight for the year? Well, there's not a lot of activity in here, so I'm afraid it's going to turn up 0, but you can do that. You can either preview it down here on your screen or you can print it.
And the nice thing about this situation now is because we're working together on the same file is that if they say, we look at an account and we go, well, that's really not clinical supplies, or that should be in, office supplies.
Yep.
Then when they're looking at that and they're looking at their costs, they're going to get it based on the true financial statement. Whereas before under checkbook solution, it was a separate file. So they could go look at their clinical supplies, which would have one number in it. But if you looked at the financial statement, it wouldn't have the same number.
Exactly. And they were like, that's not what mine is showing. But this is, and it's up to date. I mean, everything you enter, everything the client enters today, I see today. Any change I've made today, they see today.
Mm-hmm.
It's been great to be able to do that kind of thing. So that again, if there's any other thing they want to see, obviously they can give us a call, but this is a common one that they like to see because you can always do it by account number, what you're looking for here. So.
Right. Well, that's good. That was our objective today, just to kind of go over some tips, tricks, and best practices in using the checkbook solution, or what we call now as Accounting CS. And if you have any questions, feel free to call Sharon, Joe Hilbrand here at the office, Ben Lane, myself at 616-949-9030, and we'll be happy to help you out. I would also ask that if this was helpful to you, shoot one of us an email and say, hey, that was great, thanks. And if there's a topic that you'd like covered, then let us know, and we'll make a video of that as well. So thank you very much. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.